Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a very positive update I have here today in regards to the potential Iran nuclear deal and the Israelis' move to potentially strike Iran. Trump administration saying, no, that's not going to happen. We do not like that plan. And it seems like that plan will also involve potential U.S. support, which Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and others within the administration, even some of the neocons apparently, coming out against the plan. Trump waved off Israeli strike after divisions emerged in his administration. Israel developed plans for attacking Iranian nuclear facilities that would have required U.S. assistance, but some administration officials had doubts. And so this is the big stuff when it comes to Trump, when it comes to Israel. We know what just happened about a week and a half ago. A lot of Israelis were not too happy. They took all of their tariffs off the United States. The next day, which was Liberation Day, Trump still slaps them with a 17% tariff. Netanyahu visited Trump. Trump kept it on. And then he did bring it down to 10% as part of the global tariffs coming down. But the point is, there seems to be some division within Trump and Netanyahu. And this is really the big stuff. We know what's going on with Israel and Palestine, and people saying Trump proverbial, he cucked to Israel because he said that the United States was going to annex the area, or it was going to be this independent economic zone, whatever you want to call it. That's a different situation. We also know that Trump ripped up the original nuclear agreement between the United States and Iran, but now they're trying to come to another agreement, and Israel is looking to weaken Iran by striking their nuclear facilities. Whether or not they have a nuclear bomb, we know they're at least at 60% enrichment on their uranium, which means they could develop one. It would take about 2 or 3 weeks. That's if they don't have one already. But I'm going to read through this because this shows the Trump administration getting rid of and shedding the neocon vibe when it comes to these escalations within the Middle East with the support, in this case, of the United States. We know Israel certainly would want the support of the United States when it comes to a potential war with Iran. And so Israel planned to strike an Iranian nuclear site Iranian nuclear sites as soon as next month, but it was waved off by President Trump in recent weeks in favor of negotiating a deal with Tehran to limit its nuclear program, according to administration officials and others briefed on the discussions. Mr. Trump made his decision after months of internal debate over whether to pursue diplomacy or support Israel in seeking to set back Iran's abilities to build a bomb at a time when Iran has been weakened militarily and economically. And so this is exactly what we wanted. It's Trump telling Israel, no, it's not going to happen. We're not going to escalate this. We will choose diplomacy when it comes to the Middle East. This is not why I was elected. Trump always ran on no wars. We're not doing it, especially when it comes to the Middle East, of all things. After all we dealt with under W. Bush, you would think that this would be a absolutely not, it's not going to happen. And they single out Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, coming out vehemently against this, saying that this is going to require significant U.S. assistance. And if Israel wants to fight their own war, they could do that, but we are not going to assist them. And that was always what we wanted under Trump when it comes to Israel and Iran. The United States cannot be involved. It just strokes more animosity against the U.S. when it comes to the Arab states and our support of Israel. And so it seems like Trump is going through a weaning off process when it comes to the support of Israel. There still is that support when it comes to Palestine, obviously. And again, I'm saying that's a different situation than Israel and Iran. And when it comes to a nuclear bomb, to be fair to Trump and to be fair to everyone that's been criticizing Trump, he has said that under no circumstances will Iran have a nuclear bomb. So he's certainly coming out hard against that. This doesn't mean that, oh, for sure, there's going to be peace and there's going to be a nuclear deal or something worked out. But it goes to show you Israel wants to be extremely aggressive, and they know that Trump in general, especially when you compare him to Biden, where Biden was extremely lukewarm. I would say it was really like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out when it came to Biden, a lot of double speaking when it came to the Middle East and support for Israel versus Palestine, when it came to a potential nuclear deal that was being negotiated but never really went anywhere under Biden with Iran. Now we have Trump, who's a lot more aggressive. And we saw he's a lot more aggressive when he had that press conference with Netanyahu back in February, the first one they had together, where he said, yeah, we're going to basically annex the Gaza Strip and turn it into an economic zone. So the Israelis understand Trump is very aggressive. They want to take advantage of that and strike Iran and weaken Iran. But Trump is saying that's not going to happen. We're not being dragged into this. This is your thing. We will not support it. And you can see the debate highlighted fault lines between historically hawkish American cabinet officials and other aides more skeptical that a military assault on Iran could destroy the country's nuclear ambitions and avoid a larger war. Donald Trump has chosen diplomacy over military action. We know in the first term, like I had referenced earlier, he tore up the Iranian nuclear deal negotiated by Obama. But in his second term, he's eager to avoid being sucked into another war in the Middle East. He opened negotiations this past week and has given them a few months. And they're going to be meeting again on Saturday. So they met last week on Saturday and then this week on Saturday. And this is their uranium enrichment facilities in Iran. This is an aerial photograph right there. Earlier this month, Trump informed Israel of the decision from the United States to not support the attack. So Donald Trump is coming out and saying the United States will not support an Israeli attack of Iran. And he discussed it with Netanyahu when Netanyahu visited last week, and that was the whole tariff thing. But obviously there were a lot of closed-door conversations as well. So, and you know what? I wonder if they'll go in terms of actually naming some of these cabinet members that talked about this, because I know specifically it was even Waltz came out and said there was a lot of speculation on if this would even work, this attack, and how much involvement the United States would have to have in this attack. But it was Hegseth who was wary and said no. Remember, J.D. Vance didn't even want to initiate the attacks on Yemen against the Houthis when those messages got leaked because of Waltz. Vance said we don't want to bail out Europe because of the amount of trade that goes through that canal and those international waters, that the ships that they were sinking, it only affected about 3% of our trade that goes through there. So it really didn't make sense for us to bail out Europe. In a sense, that's what J.D. Vance was saying. So there seems to be a lot of momentum shifting away from the Middle East, from Trump, from Vance, from Hegseth. You still have Rubio and Waltz there, who are more hawkish when it comes to the support of Israel and aggressive, but also Tulsi Gabbard coming out against it. So we're starting to see the administration push back against Israel and a potential aggressive maneuver against these nuclear facilities to try and prevent a nuclear bomb from being developed. And according to this article, it would have had to have had significant U.S. support in these strikes. So it would be us supporting Israel, helping them execute these strikes, which would immediately destroy any relationship we would have had with Iran in terms of coming to a negotiating agreement and hopefully long-term peace, at least short-term peace. We're just trying to get something together to bandage the situation, and that's really what it is when it comes to the Middle East in general. You're never going to fully fix things. You can at least bandage them for a certain amount of time. So this is very good news, and we hope that these talks can continue. But the big picture here is Israel and Netanyahu want to move aggressively against Iran. Donald Trump is saying, no, that's not happening. And members within Trump's cabinet are saying, no, we do not want to do that. We do not want to be involved. This would require U.S. help, and we don't want to facilitate it. And so it kind of pushes back against the whole idea that Trump, to a degree, is controlled by Israel, all this stuff with people being deported, Palestine protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters getting deported from the United States, people saying, well, Trump, he's in bed with the Israelis and Jews. And it's just, we're seeing this now. I mean, they really want to move forward with these strikes against Iran, not only to hurt their nuclear capability, but also to weaken them in general. And Trump is saying that's not going to happen. We are not being a part of that, at least right now. Now, obviously, we know what Trump has said, and this is a lot of negotiations. Trump will be very aggressive when it comes to public in terms of the posturing for negotiations. We saw he threatened Hamas a few times, and nothing really came of it, where he said, in a week, if you don't return the hostages, we don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be big problems, and nothing really happened. So I think Trump uses the public to bolster his negotiating leverage. And he's doing that against Iran by saying they cannot have a nuclear weapon at all. And he's giving them a timeline. At this point, I think there's a month left on it in terms of negotiating. And I know people from the Trump administration will be meeting with Iranian officials this week. And they met last Saturday and also this Saturday. So hopefully something can be worked out. But this is really the first inside look we're getting at the Middle Eastern trepidation now we're seeing, which is what we want within the administration. Trump said, we're not going to do another war, especially in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. It's not going to involve the United States. And this is Trump putting his foot down and saying, we are not part of this. And you do not have our support. And Israel, of course, would love the United States support when it comes to the superpower that we are in terms of a war against Iran, whether it's a proxy war where we're supporting Israel or where we're, on the ground helping them. We know there were troop movements within the Middle East, U.S. troop movements. And so that's something that we really want to avoid. And Trump knows that. He is not naive enough to think that this would be a good thing. And based on what he ran on, especially when it comes to his base, a lot of old boomer conservatives might like it, but this would be extremely unpopular. Obviously, liberals hate everything Trump does, so they would hate this no matter what. But conservatives would, a lot of conservatives have a big problem with a war opening up in the Middle East where the United States is involved with Israel against Iran. Hopefully, there can be some type of nuclear agreement. When it comes to the actual verbiage of the agreement, you don't want to say it doesn't matter. I mean, because it does matter, unless it's because it could be just terrible. But we just want to we want there to be an agreement, really. We want Trump to be able to avoid this, because if you go on and do some type of military action against Iran at the behest of Israel, it's a big problem for the administration. And so this is a great thing that Trump is doing right now in terms of kind of calming the waters, if you will. And hopefully coming to some type of agreement in terms of a new nuclear deal with Iran that Trump can swing as better than the old one that was signed under Obama that Trump ripped up. And guys, we are coming to the end of the video. I do want to say, please like the video, also subscribe, all that stuff. But I do want to read this last little bit when it comes to J.D. Vance and his opinion of a Iranian deal. So you can see there is still significant debate within Trump's team about what kind of agreement with Iran would be acceptable. The Trump administration has sent mixed signals about what kind of deal it wants and what the consequences for Iran would be if it failed to agree. One discussion, Mr. Vance, with support of others, argued that Mr. Trump had a unique opportunity to make a deal. And so it seems like Vance is really invested in the idea of peace within the Middle East. Because remember, you go back to the messages that got leaked, the signal messages, he said, we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be bailing out Europe when it came to the attack on the Houthis. And now Vance is saying, you've got a unique opportunity to make this deal and have peace. So Vance is really, he's doing some maneuvers behind the scenes right now. He wants peace. This is good stuff to see. So either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.